Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Embracing What's Possible with Roxy. I'm so glad to be here today, and I'm so happy that we've joined. Last time we were together, we did some breathing exercises. Today is story time, and I'm going to also be announcing a segment, and I also want to tell you a story. So let me announce the segment first. I'm going to be doing an employment series, and I'm going to be interviewing a wide variety of people around employment and disability. So my name again is Roxy B. Rocker, and I'm your host of Embracing What's Possible. I have struggled in jobs my entire career. But then I've had some that have just been life-changing and enormous, and the possibilities were just phenomenal. So I have learning disabilities, and that means that sometimes there's a little bit of chaos, a little bit of disorganization. Sometimes I'm not really sure of the processing and can I follow some social cues. If I had one of my episodes with my leg that I didn't know about when I was younger, I'm in the bathroom and I might have missed some information if we were at a meeting. Then I'm asked something and I don't know because I wasn't in the room and somebody forgot that I wasn't in the room. And I'll miss things and, I might get in trouble or I might have to have a write up or something. So having a learning disability isn't the easiest when you have a job because you have to process a lot of things when you have a job. But I love troubleshooting. I love leadership. I love community building. I love working with people. I have so many great skills. I've been in leadership development. I can get myself in front of a room with a microphone and I can hold the crowd, and it's beautiful. And I love it so much. I have all these great skills, but then you lose your jobs. And it's like, why did I lose my job? Well, or why am I being written up today for a performance review? You know, and it's most of the time it's organizational skills. Um, a lot of the time it's just organizational skills. It's that, maybe I had a sloppy desk, but it wasn't that I couldn't handle the community. I didn't do a good job with customer service. It wasn't any of that. It was never any of that. My first job out of college my first job in college was in the cafeteria of the main food hall. And I remember my job was to clean up after the college kids. And I then had to organize salt, pepper, ketchup packets, relish packets, and load them all up and put the straws into the containers, and also had to bust and get all of the plates and crap and clean up the tables and vacuum, and it was a hard labor job. It had a lot of organizational steps and I was frustrated, overwhelmed, and not in joy. There was no joy to that job whatsoever. It was mundane steps that you just had to follow. Ugh. I could not stand it. It was awful. The day that my shift ended in college, I sat on the floor and I looked at the straws in my apron and I started crying. Horrible. And I felt like I was such a selfish little rotten kid that, somewhere I was going to get a little paycheck. Um I think they called it student wage or something like that. I don't know. But I never wanted to do a student wage crappy job like that again. Cleaning up after those college kids. They were grody. It was bad. But it wasn't even that. It was just there was so many steps to that job that I felt overwhelmed and I felt like the whole thing was just going to crash on me. Somebody was going to find me buried under ketchup packets, probably all red and bloody and straws all over me. I was going to look like a zombie, bloody zombie, something that wasn't even right. So I had a conversation with my friend Amy, which was my original name, because I legally changed my name to Amy. I had a conversation with my friend Amy, who her whole family moved there. And her mom said, "Come, I'm gonna come and get you. We're gonna go grocery shopping," because they were like my studio family out there. "And we're gonna talk to you about something because we might have an opportunity for you." So I got to take care of grandma, Amy's grandma, and her mom, um, her mom's mom, after school, or when I didn't have a class, or maybe I had a late afternoon or an evening class. They would pick me up, they would take me to the house, and I would take care of grandma. I would do her hair. I was grandma's PCA. It was so cute and so much fun. Grandma used to always say, "So you work here? And you've been working here for a long time? You know the family well?" And I said, "Well, I just started, Grandma, Mama." "That's right." And yeah, "Oh, you're gonna make me some nice toast today." Oh, the conversations were so fun and so sweet. And every morning I got to do her hair. It was just so cute. I wasn't a hairdresser, but I could do her hair, put on a little bit of makeup on her, and I got to take care of grandma. And they bought me food, and I got a little salary. And so I was a little bit more content because I was helping someone, and that's what I do. I love to help people. Helping people is my second nature. And, you know, I didn't have to be perfect at it because grandma wasn't perfect anymore. Grandma didn't even know about perfection. Grandma just wanted to talk to someone. And I was her companion, and I got to talk to her. And that was very sweet. And then I graduated. I wasn't in a bad relationship that was kind of abusive. And I started doing childcare, early childhood. The parents, the kids, the ratios, it was too much. So I went into something called AmeriCorps, National Service, and I started learning more leadership skills because I've been learning leadership skills forever. And I was starting to learn about employment and study um, how to help people with disabilities get jobs. And I love that. I had a little phone bank with phone banking in my house, calling people up and being like, "Hi, how are you? Are you hiring?" And would get into conversations. This was in 1990s, 98, 97, 99. This wasn't now. We didn't have a cell phone. Well, we had some weird cell phone thing, but we didn't have the cell phones we had now that were little computers in our pockets that I'm sitting on here for my TV show, recording on my phone. Didn't have that back then. So I went and did AmeriCorps, and I started doing some cool projects, and I started meeting some great people, and I got involved with the Spinal Cord Injury Association, and the para Olympian Paralympians were having their basketball tournaments and quad rugby tournaments. Phenomenal. My job was to get volunteers. So I did. I was in AmeriCorps. We have fun for AmeriCorps. And from there, that spiraled me into the disability world of work. And I worked for the Spinal Cord Injury Association for almost 4.5 years. I was their community relations um, director, and I really got a job where I could network, and it was phenomenal. My job was all about networking, was also bringing in and raising funds for the company, and that was magic. And I could raise funds for the company. So I literally, um, but when I worked for food stamps before AmeriCorps, when I worked for food stamps, it was called food stamps then. It wasn't called the Department of Economic Security or the Department of Transitional Services. It was called Food Stamps Office. It was back in the day when we were learning how to do fingerprints on people electronically with computers. Technology has changed so much. But I was so disorganized and I was an aide. I was not the food stamp worker because that was a lot of processing and steps too. So I was registering each one of the clients, and you had to get the registry into the system. I don't like I don't like boring work. It was very strange. And boy, do I have other crazy stories that have other people involved in them and things that have happened in my life, um and those are stories for another day or even another podcast. But work has sometimes not been easy. But the trajectory of my career um built me into the disability community. And then um I worked for the state at the vocational rehabilitation office, where I was a disability program navigator, and we got to go out and do community relations and networking and also work one-on-one on clients. And employment is powerful and important, but I was just asked a very big question. Well, how are people with disabilities leaders if jobs or they don't have a job or jobs aren't readily available for people? That's a great question. But if you're going to teach somebody leadership skills and leadership development, we also need to know how to advocate for ourselves. We need to know how to talk about an issue, how to deal with an issue, and we need to learn how to advocate for ourselves. So this past week, I was at a 3-day conference where I was emceeing, but we were being trained on an issue. So let's just talk about the issue of employment and how there's not a lot of jobs, and because of DEI, um, there's not a lot of talk about hiring people with disabilities anymore and the importance of that. And there was a lot of programs and a lot of places that set that up where this was a very important topic. And it still should be, and it still is. It's just the world is a little upside down and inside out right now. And a lot of the programs that we're supporting and giving opportunities are kind of in hiding or non existent right now. And that's scary. So, things that we can do. And I'm going to pivot myself a little bit on this. And I'm going to also talk about why I became an entrepreneur. And then we're going to kind of close this out. Um, I think that what you have to do is sit down and write down your skills. What are your skills? Who are you? What do you bring to the table? What do you love to do? What's your passion place? What do you love to do? Who are you? And how do you know how to do this? How do you know where to go and what to do next and how to make that work? So write down your skills, write down things that you're happy about, and then see if you can find jobs and maybe even squeak in a little bit of the disability work in in a job that you're doing. There's still jobs at clubhouses, mental health work. There's plenty of places where you could do some of the things that you love, especially if you want to do disability work. You can also pivot a little bit, and why I had to pivot a lot. You could do anything you wanted around your own business and how you can have your own business and what you can do with having your own business and how you can enjoy being a part of building something that you love, something that's valuable to you, something that means everything to you. So I got my massage license over 10 years ago now, and I love helping people with their body. Yesterday, I relaxed two elderly men and got them to calm down, and their nervous systems were beautiful yesterday. The relaxation that we got to was gorgeous yesterday. It was absolutely wonderful. You could see the calmness in their bodies. You can see the wonderment in their bodies. And it was magical. It was really important. So I love that. And I love that I have the skill set for that. I had to change because sometimes in our careers, because I moved 2,600 miles away, and my career ended. My career broke. My career fell apart. And I was more stressed and had more mental health issues than I ever wanted in my entire life. But I had them. And it was really not good because every single day I had to get up and be stressed about where I was going and what I was going to do for work. And the multiple jobs that I had in Massachusetts, I was stressed, anxious about what I was going to have to do for work and if I was going to get in trouble that day. I felt a little bit like that at my conference because there was triggers and maybe there was nothing wrong, but there was still triggers for me because of my disabilities. Um, and when you're in the disability world and you are asking for an accommodation, a reasonable accommodation, it has to not cause the company hardship, has to be low cost, maybe under $500. And it's the law through the ADA Act for them to comply and EEOC for them to comply to give you those accommodations. But sometimes there's a fight because I don't qualify for the job. I don't qualify for the job. Even though they hired you and you might have met the job description, but once you were in the job, I didn't qualify for it anymore. What does that mean? Well, that means that the steps or what the nature of the job was, my disability was getting into the way and interfering with what I could do. Now, I think if there was accommodations that could have been put into place, maybe that job could have been more successful. I think if they would have had patience, if they would have not been in so much panic, that job might have been okay. But I moved on to another job later on. And when I moved on to another job, that person said she was a Pierce advocate. And yet, because I couldn't move the paperwork in the way that she wanted, in the structure that she wanted, that worked for her and not for me, and there was no accommodation to do that because she wanted it her way, just like the other management wanted it her way, I couldn't perform that job duty anymore. They changed the job duty so much that I couldn't perform those tasks. Those tasks were getting too hard for me to do. So I had to move into the skill set of my hands and my heart and provide myself an income and be able to survive and pay my bills and work through all of that. And I'm so blessed and happy that that actually has happened because now I can kind of create my own opportunities and my own work. And I really love that so much because I'm more at peace, I'm happier, and I don't have to stress over somebody's going to be upset or mad at me about something I might have done or something that didn't go right or the paperwork was too messy or now all that it is me working with somebody on the table or me learning how to do retail, um, or me learning all these new and different trades in the world of entrepreneurship, because in the world of entrepreneurship, you get to kind of create and design your own world. And now you then have to educate of where you're going to be able to find those clients. And for people with disabilities, I feel like entrepreneurship is a little bit more of a better direction because the freedom, the flexibility, the comfort is a happier place. And I just feel like that is just such an empowering place for a person with a disability to be in, because then you're creating your own method, your own way of being able to navigate the world as a person with a disability and not be stressed over what you're going to do or how you're going to do it. Well, you have to know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But you don't have this boss breathing down you, telling you that if you don't do it the right way, that you might have consequences. And I don't think that's fair. I just don't think that's the way that employment should always go. And there shouldn't always be this threat underlining that you're going to do it wrong. You're not going to have it right. You're going to have a problem here. And I feel like, I feel like, you know, I really feel like that it's not always the right direction for people with disabilities. But maybe sometimes entrepreneurship is not the right direction. But I do know that we have to find our way, we have to navigate our ways, and we have to discover what you might be good at and what you might want to do in a space that maybe is your passion and your innovation. And maybe you could have it all. Maybe you could have a celebratory job or a job that really defines and gives you everything you need. Maybe you could through entrepreneurship. That's why I pivoted into this. That's why I became my own boss. So I could have those celebrations, those milestones completed, instead of struggling and not fitting into that mold and having a barrier. And I'm celebrating the world of work. So join me next time, and we're going to have a couple more shows on, we're going to have a couple more shows on the power of employment, and we're going to have guests talking about employment. And I'm excited. I'm so excited to show you this segment and to talk about how we do this and what we can do and what might be next. So join me next time when I bring on my show guests, and we're going to talk about the world of employment. And we're going to be talking about it all during Employment Month for people with disabilities, which is now in October. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of things around disability and employment on Embracing What's Possible. Cannot wait to have you. Looking very forward to the next episode. And we'll tune in again. See you soon. Please, if you need anything, contact me at www.embracing-disability.com, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions and help you as much as possible. Have a beautiful day.
I'm embracing what's possible, heart open wide, where fear used to whisper, now love is my guide. I'm not just surviving, I'm setting the pace, wearing my story with shimmering grace. From shadows to spotlight, I rise and I sing, embracing what's possible, changes everything. This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.